Hello, and welcome to What Do These Colors Mean? In this game, I'll show, well, really tell you a set of colors, and you have to guess which country or region it was first associated with. Ready? Let's go. We'll start with red, yellow, and green. 5 seconds on the clock. Say Africa or say Ethiopia, both answers are technically correct. Next, white, blue, and red. 5 seconds on the clock. In that order, actually Russia. And lastly, red, black, white, and green. Not a country, but a whole region, the Middle East. Now, I'll get two of these three I'll get back to later. But all three of these color palettes appear in one or more countries' flags. Now, you might be asking, why should I care? Well, flags are powerful culminations of a nation's history. Revolutions, nationalism, pride, political upheaval, and much more. But many of these flags also have pretty cool origin stories. Tonight, I'll be diving into the history and symbolism of 6 flags. Some familiar, others maybe not so much. Starting with a flag that belongs to a country I'm certain that at least one of you has ancestry from, I'm talking about Portugal's. For most of its history, Portugal was a monarchy with a solid white backdrop on the flag remaining relatively throughout, until a new flag with white and blue was introduced despite the monarchy still being intact. Then, in 1908, the king and his son both learned the hard way that royal blood doesn't make you bulletproof. And soon after, the monarchy fell, the king was exiled, and the current flag of Portugal was born, with red symbolizing the blood shed in defending Portugal, and green a sense of hope and optimism for the new republic. Now, you'd think that this new flag would almost immediately get ditched during Portugal's more let's just say dictatorship-y periods. But that's where you'd be dead wrong. Because despite this flag being a literal banner of revolution in the 20th century, it was still used during Portugal's more authoritarian periods. Democracy did return eventually, though, with the flag not even changing in the slightest. This next flag is one you've probably seen a lot. And I'm talking about the Italian flag. Now, I'll give you 5 seconds to guess which man would, at least indirectly, lead to green, white, and red becoming Italy's tricolor. If you answered Napoleon Bonaparte, you, my dear viewers, hit the nail on the head. After Napoleon's his year-long free trial of being Austria's worst nightmare expired, he set up a semi-independent state in northern Italy. But I bet you didn't know this. Napoleon actually based his new Italian tricolor on the French one, but subbed out the blue for green, a color that symbolized Italian nationalism. And despite Ilompu's defeat at a certain small town in Belgium, which, if you know, you know, the tricolor never lost its meaning and would eventually become the flag of Italy once again. Next, the only flag in my repertoire that's no longer in use, but inspired several others that still are. See how all of these flags have very similar color schemes and use many of the same colors? Well, my dear viewers, that isn't an accident, as all of these flags based their color schemes off just one, that of Hejaz, a Middle Eastern kingdom in the early to mid-20th century. These colors, red, green, red, black, white, and green each symbolize a major Arab dynasty or caliphate in Islamic history. And all of these colors were incorporated into this flag of the 1916 Arab revolt against the Ottoman Empire, started as a result, which was a smaller part of a larger war started because some Austrian archduke found out the hard way that a centuries-old royal lineage will not save you from a bullet. And even though the original nation that bore these colors didn't survive the mid-20th century, the color combination itself absolutely did. With these colors being adopted by many modern Middle Eastern states as the Pan-Arab colors, symbolizing Pan-Arabism, the concept of a union or alliance between Arab states. This next flag is one most of you will recognize almost immediately, but are probably clueless about the symbolism of. I'm talking about the flag of the Netherlands, with its colors of red, white, and blue, being the result of an interesting mix of symbolism and history. When the Dutch revolted against Spain, this tricolor of orange, white, and blue horizontal stripes from top to bottom emerged as a symbol of Dutch independence. Once independence was gained, and this became the de facto flag. But there was a bit of a problem, because you know that feeling where everything's perfect except for just one thing? Well, that's what the Dutch were feeling at this time, as the orange dye for their flag was prone to fading over time. Red dye, however, was more durable, and so the orange was swapped out for red, though really nobody knows exactly when the switch happened. The last time the Dutch colors would change was in 1795, when a totally not yet Napoleon's France invaded, setting up a puppet state in the Netherlands and darkening the Dutch colors, giving us the design the Netherlands still proudly bears as its flag today. Speaking of the Netherlands, this next flag's design is based off the Dutch flag, and it's centuries old. I'm talking about Russia's. In earlier Russian history, the design we know today wasn't used. The colors, absolutely, but the design, definitely not. However, that was subject to change, because in the 17th century, Tsar Peter I, sometimes referred to as Peter the Great, he loved the Dutch so much that when he returned to Russia, he made a new flag. And you know that feeling when you love something so much, but you accidentally or on purpose end up blatantly copying it? Well, that's pretty much what Peter did, as he essentially stole the Dutch's flag homework, but moved the red to the bottom so nobody would notice. Yes. This design is used as the flag of Russia today, except for two notable periods. The first was when a black, yellow, white design was used, and the second because communism, and yet more proof that royal blood doesn't immunize you to bullets. Interestingly though, in the 19th century, these Russian colors of white, blue, and red were used as the colors of Pan-Slavism, the concept of a union between of all Slavic peoples that Russia mostly used to justify its aggression against the Ottoman Empire. And here are some modern nations that use the Pan-Slavic colors in their flags. Last, but definitely not least, is a flag that belongs to a country on the other end of Europe. Literally the magnet for the rowdiest party tourist nutcases that think alcohol equals oxygen, Spain. The Spanish flag's design of one yellow stripe and two red stripes had first emerged in the late 18th century to distinguish Spanish ships at sea. And the design stuck until it didn't, because in 1808, Spain was invaded and the colors were ditched. But somebody had to be behind this invasion, and no, your brain isn't tricking you, it's Napoleon again. And his forces would be kicked out of Spain eventually, though, leading to these colors being restored, or for quite another while, until a new regime in Madrid had made the three bands equal in length and replaced the bottom red with purple. Soon after, a fascist regime took hold, bringing back the red, yellow, red. However, that regime wouldn't last forever, as not even an iron-fisted fascist dictator like Franco was immune to heart failure, with the modern flag of Spain emerging in the country's democratic restoration. So where does this leave us? Why did I talk about all these flags, movements, and periods in history? Well, now you may have noticed that most of these flags have roots in history, symbolism, or both. And that's one, not an accident, and two, actually really important. Because you see, flags are more than just pieces of cloth. They provide insights into a country's history, can provide a connection to one's heritage you would have never known otherwise, and can symbolize the values and hardships of the people under those banners. And who knows, maybe I just might have opened up a whole treasure trove of information about the history of whatever country you hold dear. Thank you.